If you really give yourself completely in the hands of God, you don't have to worry about anything. God is there to take care of everything, every minute. We go in front of the altar and easily say that, I take refuge in me, thy will be done, it's not my will. It's all wonderful to quote scriptures. But you have to really feel that in your life. You have to see that every moment you live up to that. That means total surrendering.
Okay, so let us continue our wonderful journey through our beloved Lord Krishna's Song of Heaven, the Bhagavad Gita. And the final chapter, which is Yoga Freedom, I love that word. Moksha is the Sanskrit word, freedom through renunciation. Now, the freedom is the wonderful bit. The renunciation is the hard bit. And just to recap on last week, very quickly, on this last chapter, Arjuna asks Lord Krishna, then what should we do while we are on this earth? Should we give up all our actions? Should we let go of everything? Do we just give everything? And what's the point of anything at all? And Sri Krishna says, no. I suggest you don't give up 3 things. Don't give up selfless service, which is self-sacrifice. Don't give up dhanam, which is giving. And don't give up tapas, which is austerities, and meaning sometimes you have to go through hardships, and those hardships are part of growing in this world and understanding what is spirit. So he says not to give up those 3 things. Then he starts to explain how all of us are so different, but he makes it so easy for us to understand by putting different ways of giving, different ways of thinking into 3 categories, the 3 gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattva. So last week we finished on Sloka 10, where he tells us that when we really let go of all attachments to the fruit of our actions, when we really let go, then we feel neither aversion or attraction, and there is this no clinging or pulling us, and then there is peace. And then we have found freedom. So let us continue on Sloka 11. As long as you have a physical body, you cannot entirely renounce all actions, but you can let go attachment to the fruit of your actions. And that, after all, is true detachment. Again and again he repeats, because this message is the most powerful message of the Gita. The most powerful. Do what you do, but expect nothing. Don't be attached to anything. 12. Those who do not let go attachment after physical death will experience 3 types of consequences of their actions, which means karma. Some pleasant, some unpleasant, and some mixed. But those who do let go desire for the fruits will transcend their karma. Wow, that's where the freedom comes. So those who let go of, I work for the sake of love, I work for the sake of, because I'm on this earth, there are things we have to do as we get up in the morning. I'm given breath, so I will just work for the sake of being an instrument. And those people who work like this experience freedom. Then he starts to tell Arjuna a little bit about Samkhya philosophy, which we covered very early on in chapter 2. Now, Arjuna, I will teach you the 5 constituents that, according to Samkhya Yoga, make every action happen. The seat of action, which is your body. So I'd like you to just be aware, the seat of action is your body, okay? Just look at your body, and this is the seat of action. The ego, which is the agent of action. Now, I love this word. You're the agent. So who are you the agent for? God, divine, universe? It's just the agent. Okay? So this is why Gurudev says, our job is to keep the ego as clear as crystal. Because that's our job. That is the human behavior job. But that ego is just an agent. The sense organs, now you all know your sense organs, your nose, your ears, your eyes, your mouth, your hands, the touching, the actual functioning of the body and mind that perform the actions. So the body, which is locomotion, the movement, the speech, the seeing and all that. That's the job of the body. And the mind, because through the mind gives the instructions to the body. And the various aspects of God, the devas, that correspond with different parts of the body. So now he's very lightly touching on the chakras, because each chakra, they have a God residing in our chakra system. And, according to our philosophy as well, when we talk about prana, prana, apana, viyana, samana, and udana. There is a God residing in all of these. For example, samana, the digestion, is known as fire, the god Agni. Okay, this is why when you're done something really wrong and you know it and your stomach burns, so it burns. So, different parts of the body corresponds to God. So he said, know yourself well. In other words, be aware of what you are made of. And this is according to Samkhya philosophy, which is Purusha, which is the Atman and the one in all. And then we have Prakriti, which is nature. And in Prakriti are the 3 gunas. When you understand this very clearly, things become so clear to you what spirit is. What spirit is. 15. Whatever a person does, whether right or wrong, whether thought, word, or deed. These are the 5 elements that bring about each action. That's simple. Whatever you do operates through this machine of the five elements. 16. This is the way it is. But people whose minds are not trained imagine themselves, who are the agents of action, to be the doers. Or they think that the doer is the true self, who is absolutely independent, Kaivalyam. Their discernment is perverted and they don't see. So what does this mean? He says, the people that imagine that, okay, I'm doing everything, I'm the one in charge, the one in control, and I know because I know the true self. So the person actually takes on, instead of being the agent, becomes or thinks that person becomes God himself or herself. But how can that be? He's saying because the higher self is free and independent, is free and independent. As Spinoza, the great philosopher, would describe this independence, this God of love, as this underlying substance that is contained in all things, animate and inanimate. It is the substance that is behind everything. So it is free because it just is like the white screen in the cinema, which takes on all the movies. But it is the white screen that is there backing everybody. So this is what he's saying. But if people don't see that, then their thinking is a little perverted. When a person is free of the ego sense of separateness, ahamkara, remember the word in Sanskrit for ego is ahamkara. It's really important because this will keep coming up throughout your yoga lesson. Ahamkara. His discerning intelligence, buddhi, which is intelligence, Buddha, buddhi, intelligence, is no longer tainted. So you see, we have our intelligence. And this is why when we have knowledge and we reflect on the knowledge which I asked you to do last week, please reflect, contemplate on the knowledge. When you do, then you're no longer tainted. You can see very clearly who you really are and what you really are on this earth, and how everything really is. You really are led. Lead me from unreal to real. Lead me from darkness to the light. Lead me from the fear of death to the knowledge of immortality. See, when you understand this, then those things don't frighten you anymore. Man's greatest fear of being alone, dying, and the thing is, we're just the agent for a short period of time. We want to be free. We need to look after that agent, the ego, and know what to do, what kind of work to do with this ego while it's in this body. Though it may appear that he slays his enemies, in fact, he is not the doer and he is not bound by those actions, karma. Here he's talking to Arjuna because Arjuna has to slay his enemies and he's really struggling with this. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. He doesn't want to slay anyone. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is telling him, it's not that you are doing it, unfortunately, because of your karma, or fortunately, it could be either, you have been made this great warrior to save your people. Not to hurt others, but to save those who are being attacked, to save your family, to save righteousness. So do not think that you are the one that's doing this job. One minute I'm the great warrior, or do not think, why has this come to me? No, because you're just the agent, and I just kind of given you this job. So And if you understand this, you're not bound by your actions because you're not doing it, like there is a story, a very old story about this great samurai teacher. And he trained his student who loved him very, very much. And one day there was another samurai who was very, very jealous of this teacher, and during the night came and murdered him and disappeared. Now this student was so upset, so angry, so much in pain that for the rest of his life he promised that he would avenge his teacher's death. So he trained and he trained and he trained because he heard that this murder of the samurai was extremely powerful and had many siddhis. So what he did is trained himself, and after many years he went to look for this samurai and to avenge his teacher. Now as soon as he saw him, he was so angry, and he was there and he was ready to fight with him, and he started to fight with him, and suddenly he felt himself so angry. He was so strong that he hit the other sword and the sword fell on the floor. And then he looked at the teacher and he was so angry and he was just about to kill him, and he couldn't. He took the sword and threw it on the floor. And the other samurai said, "Why didn't you kill me?" He said, "I couldn't kill you because I was angry. And that action would bring back karma." And he walked away. So do you see? When you're attached to the action, it brings karma. Action, reaction, and this is why we keep going round and round this fire of life and suffering and repeating things again and again until we literally let something go without attachment. So that is the kind of non-attachment. If you're angry, the karma sticks with you. That's why I tell most of my students and my clients, I know this person has done wrong to you. I really know it hurts, etc., etc., or your boss or whatever. I do understand. But please understand, you will never be free unless you let it go and forgive. And forgiveness to me is the only way forward because we set ourselves free. Why don't we set ourselves free? Because we believe our ego is the doer of the action, and we believe, oh, I've been hurt. This is why I tell yogis, we need to be quite strong, not so sensitive. Oh, you said this and you said this, No, we have to be quite strong in this life. Sensitivity like that is not good. It's not advantageous. It brings on attachment. Not only does it bring on attachment, it puts one into a victim mode. And do you really want to spend your life being a victim when you could be a king or a queen? Why would you want to do that? 18. There are 3 incitements to action: knowledge, what is to be known, and the knower. There are 3 components of action: the means, the body part that performs the action, the doing of the action, and the agent of the action, the individual. Again, going back to the ego. So he's just saying, understand this, break things down simply. When you're troubled, when you're confused, just break it down, make it really easy. Say, there's the knowledge to be known, okay? There is what is to be known. Then there is the knower, and then the getting to know. And then there is also action, the body part that does it, the doing of the action, and the agent. So you see how ahamkara and ego is really important. If you understand this, then you realize I'm an agent. Now, how would an agent of God react? I mean, this is how I've understood it. It just makes it so simple. For example, in my own life, I keep on saying, my goal is peace. I only have one boss, and that is the divine. So whenever temptations come or people tell you they can do this for you or that for you, I go, I only have one boss. And that is the divine. Just to keep yourself straight and narrow. I have one goal, and that is peace. Peace. And if you make it simple, then all this new knowledge that's coming up, try this method and that method and that method, you don't get confused because you know what is to be known, which is truth. Tat, Sat. And where is the truth? Here. So use everything you can, use all your time, precious time, which is so little. Days go so quickly. We get up like 5:30 and I go, before I know, I say, Les, how did we get to 5 o'clock already? How did it get here so quickly? The days go so quickly. Do not waste time in unnecessary information. No. What do you want to know? Make it very clear. And then life is busy enough. So every moment of your life, if you just focus on the present moment and be aware of it, will teach you everything you need to know. So don't get so kind of, what is the word that I'm looking for? Don't get so confused by reading so much stuff or seeing so much stuff. It can really confuse the mind more thinking. Make it simple for yourself. Please, this was the best lesson I have learned when Gurudev said, make peace your God. Honestly, it just, all this fluff in the brain and all this chasing of this or wanting of this, well, who wants to be bothered with all of that when the freedom is just being here and having a good laugh at the joke, the cosmic joke of life. We're just an agent. That's all. I'm just an agent. And you know how I love to think of this is, of course, I always mention St. Francis's prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is despair, let me bring hope, and so on and so on. And that to me is just make me that instrument. And Gurudev once, when I was talking to him about this prayer, he said, no, Nalanie, don't say make me an instrument. Say I am an instrument of peace. So say that, because the more you reaffirm it, the more you tell yourself that's what you need to do, really. And when things get confusing and you become very distracted, then just think, I am an instrument of peace. I'm too distracted now. Cannot make a decision because I'm too distracted. I'm not going to till I find my peace. And that makes life very simple. There's no rush. We want to do things very quickly and then we create a lot of karma for ourselves. So take it slowly. Know yourself. Know what you want. Make it really clear.
There are 3 types of knowledge, actions and agents. I will describe each for you according to its predominant guna, as presented in the science of Samkhya Yoga. There is one eternal reality that pervades everything and everyone. In the midst of the many, it is the indivisible oneness. In all so-called separate beings, it is never separated or divided. Perception of this reality is pure or sattvic knowledge.
21. However, perceiving everything and all the various creatures as distinctly separate and different, one from the other, is rajasic knowledge based on a restless mind. Now here, again, is the cleaning of the mind, I'm thinking. The teaching of, quantum physics today, the teaching of science today, the teaching of the sutras from forever. There is only one true God, that substance that's in all of us. And that's what he's saying. When we think we are separate, when I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, and all that knowledge, it is based on rajasic knowledge. It's based on emotions. It's based on emotions because you want a result. And sometimes we want a result and we can't get it. So we get so upset. Oh, we have to do it. We have to do this. We have to do that. Sometimes it's not in your hands to do it. And this kind of wanting to do is based on a restless mind. And this one reminds me of what Gurudev actually told us when we were in a retreat in Kannur many years ago in India. And he said, somebody asked Gurudev, I want to do something good, but I don't know what to do with my life. I want to da 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 da. And he just answered, and maybe many of you have heard this. He said,
so here I am trying to prove you that even our very existence is not by our will. There is a cosmic will wants you to live and you are living. If that is really understood, then ask, why do you want me to live, God? That's none of your business. Then I am not seem to be doing anything, that's again none of your business. I am not keeping you for nothing here. I am not a fool to feed you, to give you air, give you water and keep you here if I am not going to use you. I will use you at the right time, right way. You don't need to worry about it. It's like a mechanic in his tool room. He may have hundreds of tools, all kinds of wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, all kinds of tools. Imagine a wall full of tools hanging. Suppose the tool asks, I think he bought me almost 10 years back. He used only once. And I am just simply hanging there and I see only you, plier and screwdriver seem to be every day being used. How come? They don't ask that question. He bought it, he will know how to use it. If I am not useful, he won't even be having it there. He'll take it and throw it out. He'll make room for some other tool there. So the same way, if your job is over on this surface of the earth, he is not going to waste even 1 ounce of breath afterwards. He'll be taking you out.
he always used to say, the reason why you're alive is because you still have use in this world. And that is the absolute truth. We have some use, and that's why we're alive. So he's talking about a restless mind, right? 22. There is also perception that clings to a view that sees one small part of the whole and mistakes it for all there is. This is tamasic knowledge, which is not true, not reasonable, and myopic. So here he's talking about tamasic. Again, he's saying there are these kind of people who only know a little and think that's all there is. And we've all seen those kind of people. This is what have started all the holy wars, the religious wars, They only see a part of the truth. My religion is, and they separate. Anything that separates us is tamasic and rajasic. A sattvic person will know that let's bring us together, teamwork, let's work together. We're all one family. This is sattvic work. Rajasic is, I want to work for the sake of, because I want this to happen in this world. And then the other one is tamas. You only know so little and you think you know it all. And sometimes I've seen this with, this is just not people in the world. Sometimes yoga practitioners can be the worst. And I've seen this often, they have a little knowledge and then they act as if they know it all. Then if you, and it's happened to many times, I've had lots of jealousy, faced through, thrown at me. It's great because that's the best practice in the world for me. I am so grateful to these people. but they just don't make sense. I say, why are you so angry with me? What have I done? Well, you look so happy. You can't be happy. Okay, fine. That's your problem. It's not my problem. Do you know? And they think they know it all. But I know that you are thinking this, and you think you are a guru, and you think you are... And I go, I never said that. I never even thought that for a moment. I've always said I'm a disciple. So where you got that image from is from your own mind. Do you see? And they because they have a little knowledge, they start judging everybody else and thinks everybody else is, small-minded. And it's not true. So I've seen this not one time, but hundreds of times. And I'm sure all of you as yogis have seen this in your life. They just because they have a little knowledge, they start to judge everything you do, think they're better than you. And fine, that's their prerogative. But there's no freedom in that thinking. There's only separation, and it only breaks people up. Why would you want to do that? If you don't like me, don't come. Easy, right? For all of us, it's the same. And I love, I'm so glad I spent years and years and years and years listening to Gurudev's satsang. Because, he always said, if any of you don't want to be here, there's no problem. If you found another teacher and you feel the other teacher is better than me, I will actually drive you there and take you to that teacher, because you must do what is best. That will promote your spiritual well-being. Now, this is, for me, a true guru and true renunciate, because his love for all of us, well, for those who never met him, he still loves us all because he's now with the one. So that love in that energy field that he left on this earth, those remnants that still are the atoms of this earth, because they will stay forever. And when we do our mantra, we tune into those atoms, so we actually link on to that energy field. And it's an energy field because it's not a face, it's not his human body anymore. But because we touched it, it's those atoms are still in our body if we have understood right, if we have not understood wrong. Because he was so wise, sometimes people say, but he contradicted himself. I said, no, because when one student was asking this question at this particular time, for this particular reason, he was answering for that. Another student asked the same question, but at a different time for a different reason, so he answered that. So you see, it's really important, discriminative discernment. And this happens a lot with yogis. They misunderstand what is said at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and they think they know it all. Oh no, I know. So that is tamasic. 23. If you do what is right to do, and you do it without attachment to the fruits, again and again, without thought of a reward for yourself, and without judging if it is pleasant or unpleasant, that is pure sattvic action. Sometimes in our life, there's jobs we have to do that are not really pleasant at all. But if you understand that you just have to do it, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, and just do it without judging it and without, I would think judging would be complaining, because that's what I did when I first moved from Hong Kong to a life of luxury to Gibraltar. I was constantly complaining. Why do I have to wash so many dishes? Why do I have to mop the floor? Why do I have to da-da-da-da-da? The song, why did you bring me to Gibraltar? I have to work in a shop 24 hours, da-da-da. It was this song, oh my God, the song of misery, I call it. And of course, the more I was attached to the work I did, the more I expected, the more I got upset with my husband, the more I got upset with me. No wonder I had ended up in hospital twice a year with asthmatic attacks. No wonder I had eczema on both hands that were burning because I was constantly about me. And when I found this precious knowledge and started working for many, many years on myself, that's why I always say, there's so much work to do here. Why would you want to start trying to change anybody else? There's enough here to work on. Okay, so And then when Gurudev said, stop complaining, purify your mind, meditate. When you're ready, God will use you. So I started to change my actions, the agent. I started to change the body, the way it responded to things. And this was work. It was hard work. And tried to not expect anything from anyone or anything in life. It was difficult because, of course, when you embark on such a journey, you will have thousands of tests. And if you just remember their test, and my journey is that I want to be free and I want peace, then you love the test. In the beginning, you don't. You go, I'm not going to get angry. But over the years, the more you practice, it goes by itself. It just disappears. One day you get up and you start laughing and you look back at your life and you realize it was all perfect. It was just a perfect plan and everything happened. But first, it wasn't to blame anybody outside, it's to just do the action. So now I wash dishes every day and I love it. I really don't mind. And I don't mind doing housework and I love it all. So I just, it's great time to do my mantra. And sometimes there's so much spiritual stuff that I do. I actually love karma yoga now. I love to mop the floor. I love to clean, just to get away from too much getting away and being a little bit on earth. So that gives you freedom. Not complaining makes one feel free. That's all I'm basically saying. We all have our journeys in different ways. I mean, maybe you didn't have the same journey, but it doesn't matter. We all have our journeys in our own ways. So when you start to not judge it, pleasant or unpleasant, you start to like, wow, you feel really happy. 24. However, anything done to fulfill the craving, now listen to this, craving of personal desire. And that is like Sri Patanjali in Sutra 15, Book 1, tells us, right? What is non-attachment? Non-attachment is being free from the craving of objects seen or heard. The craving, okay? Because I really want this to be like this, so I really need to have this. This is craving for me. Or to satisfy the selfish ego, or carried out with so much effort that is straining, is Rajasic action of a restless mind. So you see, here's what he's saying. If you have this craving for personal desire, it is to satisfy your own ego. And then you have to put so much effort into getting something. That really sounds really stressful, doesn't it? It really is stressful. So he's saying that's what you get if your mind is Rajasic. I would like you to understand here, Lord Krishna is not judging anything. He's just saying, you do this and this is your result. You do this, this is your result. You do this, this is your result. Simple. In fact, it's making it so easy for us, if you read chapter 18, to define your own personality and see, oh, today I can see this is coming from a Rajasic point of view. It's normal. I'm human. Okay, how am I going to react? You see? Oh, I want to. Now, I know I'm feeling Rajasic, so let me calm down, do some pranayama, go for a long walk, jog, whatever you need to do, pray, meditate. And then I don't want to perform this negative action. I realize this is attachment. So what would be the sattvic move? Do you see how you can be your own doctor by understanding exactly what he's telling us here? 25. Anything undertaken blindly, that is, without considering the consequences, such as waste or injury, or without even pausing to consider one's abilities to succeed, that action is dark with ignorance and is tamasic. Now, here he's saying, whatever you decide to undertake in your life, a job or whatever you want to do, have a plan. Have a good plan in the sense that, I've seen many people start projects and they come to me with these projects with so many ideas, and I want to do this and I want to, okay, what is your plan of action? Why would I invest in this? What is your plan of action? I have no plan of action. And then I see that they wasted so much money, maybe paid $2,000 or $3,000 for somebody to do a business report. And for what? If you don't have a plan of action, you don't even have the finances. Yes, if you understand what you want to do, how much you need to raise, what is the plan, and what is your future goal, that's different. But you're wasting people's time and energy when you do this, and wasting your own time. And it's just, I want. You're not thinking. Is this wasting? You're not thinking. And this is tamasic. It's a dull mind. You just want everything done without effort. People who are tamasic want everything done without making an effort themselves. Just let's do it easily, And you find a lot of money wasted when these people do these projects. Watch out for them. I've seen many in my life. When the agent of an action, the individual, has let go attachment to the fruits and thus is free of the egoistic feeling of separateness, yet is still full of enthusiasm and fully committed, then that agent is not affected by so-called success or failure. So when you've let go of the fruits of your actions, you do it for the sake of, because you just love to do it, or you do it. That's it. For example, I'm looking out to my garden. You water the plants because you're connected to the plants and they need water. Just simple. You just do without. It's just an energy because we're all connected. There is no separateness. That's why they say when anybody comes to your home, guest is God, because there's no separateness. Your partner is God or goddess because there is no separateness. And when you do that, you're not worried about success or failure. So if your partner comes one day and it's not very jolly, you don't get affected. You don't take it personally. Oh, why did you speak like that to me? You're in a bad mood. You don't do that because you just understand we're all connected and things sometimes go wrong. So you don't worry about success or failure. You just remember the secret word. Do you remember the secret word? What is your goal? Peace. Always remember that word, peace. I prefer peace. Rather to be right, I prefer peace. Over a small thing. Of course, poor Arjuna had this big battle, much bigger than any of us. So, poor guy, was a big journey for him. 27. The Rajasic agent, the individual, acts primarily out of personal desire, or in order to get the fruits of his action, or out of greed, cruelty, or for other impure purposes. That agent of action is easily carried away by excitement or dismay about the results of his actions. So because the Rajasic person is after the money or the car or the building or owning a nation or controlling people, he is that agent, and he's carried away because he thinks he is the agent, and he's not working with the flow of the divine. He's working on his own ego, and this kind of action will bring a lot of excitement or a lot of dismay into that life. 28. The tamasic agent does things stubbornly, yet without steadiness. His actions, which are vulgar, deceitful, malicious, and dishonest, arise from a mind that is lazy, procrastinating, and easily dejected. This is a tamasic person who believes that he is, that agent, and works like believing that, not seeing the separateness, obviously. So his actions become vulgar, deceitful, malicious, and dishonest. And so that kind of person you can normally recognize because they're lazy. They keep procrastinating, tomorrow, do it tomorrow, and easily dejected. They get oversensitive. They think everything is about themselves. It's all about them. 29. Listen now, Arjuna, and I will fully teach you the 3 degrees of understanding and 3 types of will, according to each one's predominant guna. So he's saying, each one has a predominant guna, and this is why we meditate, right? Because we want sattva to be predominant in our life rather than rajas and tamas. We need rajas. We need a little rajas to work. It's like I said, it's like the tricolor, blue, red, yellow, and to make all the different colors when you mix them. We do need rajas, but we need rajas applied with a sattvic mind. Do you see? And that's how we use it. 30. There are signs of clear understanding, buddhi, sattva, knowing when and when not to act. Now, these are the signs. When you know yourself, okay, I'm not going to act now. It's just not going to work. Or I am going to act right now because it's needed. It needs to be acted on. Knowing what is right and what is wrong to do. You know that. And that's when you really have to get a good command of the yamas and niyamas. And this is why I tell all my students, please, the most important learning in life is know your yama niyamas inside out. Memorize them. Read them again and again and again. But not only read them, live them. Live them every day. And then you will be guided. Okay, this action looks right to me now because I'm emotional, but I'm basing it on my emotion. But let's see, is this truthful? Does it cause harm? And then you sit back and think, and then you realize, okay, maybe it does, so I'm not going to do this action. And that's how you make decisions. It really helped me, yamas and niyamas. Knowing the causes of fear, bhaya, and fearlessness, abhaya, and knowing also the paths of bondage and freedom, moksha. So here he's saying, this is a sign of clear understanding. Know this. Again, know yourself. 31. Rajasic understanding does not easily distinguish the virtuous ways, dharma, from the evil way, adharma, and therefore Arjuna often errs deciding what to do and what not to do. Now, Rajasic people find it because they still have a personal desire for a reward. It might be very subtle, but they still want a personal reward. They find it very difficult sometimes to decide which is the right way to go. Again, not judging bad or good. It's just that they get confused because there's an element of I in it, I want it to be like that. And you want the fruits of your actions. You say, oh, I've done all this for these people and they're not grateful. Then it's still Rajasic, So to make a decision when you are like that is quite confusing. And this is the mind of a Rajasic person. And normally you will make many mistakes in your life. 32. Tamasic understanding is enveloped in a curtain of darkness, ignorance of reality, because it perceives all and everything through this distorted lens, Arjuna. It utterly reverses right action with wrong action. And I have seen this many, many times in my life. And I can see people come in, when they come and see me, they're so angry and they don't do this action. And I go, yeah, Nalanie, they don't know. And they get so angry. And I go, no, you are not seeing clearly. Look, you are saying all these words and you're crying at the same time. Obviously, there is a conflict. And I call it a black cloud. I actually said, I always tell them, actually, you're just enveloped in a black cloud. And what we need to do is blow it away. When there is a fog on the road and you are driving and it's so foggy you can't see the road, what should you do? Stop, go on the side of the road, put on your headlights and wait till the fog disappears. Put on your tail lights so nobody, drives into you as well. That's what you do. You just wait and then you go ahead. And this is the same when people are distorted. Doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that their mind is very sick. And sometimes very good people, many times very, very, very good people have this black cloud around them. And in fact, many times in my life, I have had people come to me and say, like, for example, oh, Nalanie, I think there was this one story, and I was allowed to tell. She came to see me. She said, Nalanie, I don't recognize my daughter anymore. And I go, what do you mean you don't recognize your daughter? So my daughter is the sweetest, kindest girl. But ever since she's been going out with this gentleman, she swears. She's never sworn in her life. She's rude to her parents. She's never been rude to us. We've always talked. She slams the door when she goes out. It's almost like she's surrounded by an evil energy. And I'm very, very worried. And she goes, it's like a veil of darkness over her. And I go, oh, I call that the black cloud. And this woman said, Nalanie, I think that this boy's mother does black magic. And has she done black magic on my daughter? Because I can't get through to her. So I said, okay, where there's darkness, let us bring what? Light. So I said, by you getting upset and more angry, doesn't solve the problem. So what do? I said, well, in our home, Mom used to put holy water every day, pray on the water, sprinkle her room with holy water, do lots of, you fight black magic with white magic, you do lots of mantras in your house, put mantras on all day long, and when you feel anger, try and change it to love. Let her come home to not anger, but to love. Put lots of loving music on. Put things that she loved when she was a childhood, memories. Put those on videos, etc. So she remembers. And pray. Pray for her. And don't curse the boy and don't curse the parents of the boy. And this woman actually did it for 2 weeks, and she came back and she said, I don't know what's happened, but she broke up with this boy, and she actually said to me, Mom, I don't know where I was. I'm so sorry. I reacted in such a bad way. So that to me was like black cloud removed. And I said to the mother, a mother's love is the best healer. Really, for me, I see that Mom has got healing hands, and Dad's too. Well, my father was magic. My father, just hearing his voice and I'd just be well. So that is a distorted lens, and they really, really cannot tell right from wrong, and they're very confused, and this is tamasic. 33. Yoga meditations make the mind pure, steady, and strong. With that sattvic will, firmness of mind, one can control and regulate the life force, prana, the senses, and the functioning of the mind. And there is our medicine. Each one of us may have a predominant guna, but with meditation, we can make the mind pure, steady, and strong. Isn't that such a lovely message? I love it. This is medicine. Forget about all the other medicines. We're going to die one day. This is the best medicine. Keep the mind pure and strong. And have a sattvic will. Make a promise to yourself. Honest. Please do. Because that's what I did 30 odd years ago. I said I would not eat till I meditate. And I promised God with all my heart and all my soul. And I made that my marriage vow. And knock on wood, to this day, on planes, in hospitals, on buses, on trains, on time change, jet lag, I kept my promise. I kept my promise, and I keep keeping it. And I hope I will be allowed to do it for the rest of my life. But you just make a promise and make your mind firm, because nobody can do it for you. And this is where we get the divine will. This is what we have to work on, human beings, developing that willpower. Yes. Say yes with me, all of you. Yes. Yeah, yes. I can develop that willpower, and I will. Nobody can do it for you. Yes, I can inspire you. Yes, I can say you can do it. I'll be there to back you. But only you can do it for yourself. So just make a promise. And you don't have to make a promise for a long time if you can't, if you feel the rest of your life is way too much. Anything. Promise your husband, promise your wife, promise your family, promise your guru, whatever, promise yourself, whatever. But if you make a promise and stick to it, you will do it. And that is will. That is willpower. And this makes your mind sattvic. This is medicine. But if the will is strong out of personal desires for wealth, sense pleasures, karma, and respectability, then Arjuna, this is Rajasic will. So if you are doing all these things, meditating, using your will, but you're using your will because why? You really want wealth, you want sense pleasures, and you want, I want everybody to think I'm the best, respectability, then this is Rajasic. You will have karma. 35. These are the signs of a tamasic will, steeped in ignorance, obstinately clinging to the habit of oversleeping, also fear, grief, depression, and conceit. Sometimes, this is really interesting, because sometimes when people come to me and they said, I'll give you a story that, again, I'm allowed to tell from one of my patients, so that this happens to all of us. She came to my office many, many years ago, and she was like, she'd been to many psychologists, etc., and been given a lot of medication, and she just had enough. Her husband had enough, her daughter had enough, and they were all fed up with her. And she said to me, and it was all about her, the whole conversation. Again, I asked the same question. What about your husband? What about your daughter? How do they feel? What? I'm the one who's in depression. I said, my goodness, sounds very selfish, doesn't it? What do you mean, Nalanie? It's all about you. What about your husband and your daughter? And it really made them think. Then I asked them like 10 questions to do with husband and daughter. And then they answered themselves. And I said, what do you think? Depression is not a good habit. You need to break out of it. It's not. Sometimes people get so used to depression that they actually become so tamasic with all the medication that they don't want to move. It's actually quite convenient. Everybody's looking after them. And I said, do you really want to? I said, fast forward another 20 years. I said, guaranteed your husband will leave you in a few years. Guaranteed your daughter will want to leave as soon as she's old enough. Doesn't want to be around you. You're so depressing. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. And you don't, and that's what my clients say. No, you're very truthful, aren't you? I said, yeah, not to hurt you, but to help you. I'm really telling you to help you. It's not for me. You can get angry with me all you want, but I'm not here to lie to you. And anyway, she accepted it. She was a good girl. And she started really practicing yama niyama. She really practiced yoga, meditation, etc. And she healed herself in a year. It was a year. At that time, I was giving satsangs every Tuesday, Wednesday in the yoga center every single day. And she came to everything, hatha yoga classes. I was also teaching everything. And 1 year later, She healed herself after 22 odd years or more of being on medication. So you see, it does work. And sometimes you have to knock people and say, actually, it's a very selfish behavior. Nowadays, it's all about mental health. And yes, of course, it's all about mental health. And we need to be kind, and we need to be considerate, and we need to look after people. But why are we promoting them to be more depressed? We should teach them, okay, it's the mind, and you can, this kind of work can take you to a new place. What is better? To feel sorry for yourself every day. I got a mental health problem. I think we all got a bit of mental health problem anyway. I don't think anybody's free from it. And this is why we're doing this work. So some have more, some have less. So some have to work harder. I think I had big mental problems before I started yoga. So work on yourself. But it's hard for people to hear that. And nowadays we're so I think we mollycoddle people too much. We don't teach them about willpower, their will, the divine inside of them. That's why I think spiritual healing is the best healing, because it's a healing with compassion, but at the same time, truthfulness and what is best for the person. You give people labels. Now there's labels for everything. And once you give a person a label, they really believe it. And they think they can't do it. They think, oh, I'm like this. And I said, well, so what? You know what? This is a new label that was invented, 5 years ago? Human beings have always had different kinds of problems, as far as I know, since I was a child. I had so many friends with problems too. It's normal. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes too many labels make you get very confused. So choose the label. That's the affirmation. I am peaceful. I am divine. I am not this body. I am not this mind. Immortal self. I am. And that's the label I like. So label yourself